a big line I kept hearing was, I never thought I'd have to come up here and protect my First Amendment rights, but that's what I'm doing. And I was
Well,
like, hun, welcome. I'm so sorry you're here. But like, welcome to the fight, because like this is what we've been dealing with for a long time. like unless you can write a real big check, you are not safe here.
no.
Like,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Twinning with Anna and Ida. I am one of your co-hosts, Anna Viescamani.
and I am your other co-host, Ida Viescamani.
And as always, we're grateful that you have taken the time to share space with your favorite twins, LOL, to talk more about what's
we
happening.
Self-anointed ourselves. We're unaware of what twins you have in your life. We wish them well, but we think we're,
Yeah, we assume that we're your favorite.
No, all twins are great. We love all twins. Solidarity
for
for
it.
twins. Yeah.
100%. With that said, we're grateful that you've taken the time to be a part of what we're building here in our podcast, which is trying to bring local government more directly to you in a digestible and shareable way, and to hopefully spread a little bit of joy along the path. It is a pretty intense time because of the Super Bowl, or I guess the Bad Bunny Bowl.
The Bad Bunny concert, we're also excited for it.
Exactly. I feel like for some people it's a football game, everyone else it's like a concert with a football game around it.
100%. I think I know who's playing from context clues. Maybe that's a game we can do later. I do really appreciate sports. To me, it's like,
wow, you sound so sincere.
I really love cultural moments, so I'm here for it. All of it. But I also, whomever the underdog is who I'm rooting for. So
Wow.
y'all let me know.
Really funny. Well, I will say too that I also enjoy the participation of athletics. But no, we actually know our ways around a football, and I.
What are you talking about?
Yes, I know how to throw a football. Try
Okay,
me.
all right. Okay.
Try me.
All right.
Try me. No.
Yes, you will, I'm sure, be getting challenges.
Well, and the Florida legislature has their annual firefighter-sponsored softball game. And I do not trust myself with a bat. Like, I just feel like I'm going to miss a swing all the time. But I was a backup runner for the team. We did not win, but I got through at least 2 bases. So tell me where to run and I'll run. But either way, it is something I really enjoy too, of just like celebrating community and solidarity with people. And I do think that having Bad Bunny on such a huge stage is just really incredible, especially in this moment. And speaking of the moment, there's a lot going on. I know before we started recording, I asked you what was top of mind for you, and I feel like there's just so much happening in the world. And not to get too dark, as a woman and as a young woman, I feel like we need to take a moment to acknowledge just the horrifying details coming out to the public by the Epstein files. It just sickens me. It sickens me how women are still not trusted when stories are told of what they're experiencing, that men are protecting men in this context, especially very wealthy men. I just want to express love and solidarity to all the victims and survivors and those who are sharing their stories. And I just hope for actual accountability, especially for President Trump, who's mentioned multiple times in these files. And of course, recently posted a racist image of the President and First Lady Obama in an effort, not only because I think he's a racist, but also because I feel like he's deflecting from the Epstein files.
It's absolutely horrifying, and it is not all the files. It's a big chunk of them. But my understanding is there's still millions of more that have not been released. And of course, the Trump administration did a horrible job. Either it was intentional or just complete incompetence in redacting the names of victims and photos of victims. And so that's been a massive moment of so many folks just being re-traumatized. That shouldn't
Right.
be. I mean, there needs to be a reckoning. And I think the last time I read, 8 different countries are all leading investigations because of the scale of this. And at the center of it is this sexual exploitation and trafficking of girls across the world. But then there's also this other element of just like this global cabal of ultra wealthy people of all political backgrounds that are, I mean, there's legit evidence of like insider trading in the situation where you have Peter Mandelson of the UK giving like tips to Jeffrey Epstein about the EU bailout. And that's just one example of many that are coming out. I mean, like, it crosses the political gambit. It's sickening how folks protecting each other or like trying to spin this in a way. I mean,
Yeah,
but
deflated
it
or
runs a massive scale, and there needs to be a reckoning. And I think this moment also, to your point, of just the blatant misogyny that is built in here and what a threat that is to women and girls, and also like men being able to live freely too, because we know like patriarchy
right.
harms everybody. I think there's also an opportunity to hold folks accountable and uh, create a new world of like where women and girls are heard and respected.
I think about all of our young women, all of our girls that deserve role models, they deserve accountability, that they deserve to be treated the same as anyone else. And this is not the case. And whether it's the Epstein files or it's different social media influencers like the Tate brothers and others that have literally profited off the misogyny and the dehumanization and the belittling of women, it just further emphasizes for me like the importance of us using our voice and of course empowering more and more, especially young people and young women, to use their voice. And I really just want to remind folks that this does not have to be a reflection of the majority, right? Like we can change it if we speak up. And I think that's a
Yes.
great segue to kind of talk about just the legislative session and where we're at right now. We got to bring it down to what's happening on the ground in Tallahassee. Florida's legislative session, as a reminder, is part-time. So it's scheduled to be 60 days long. And a lot of bills are moving fast. There were a few bills that we wanted to uplift for y'all that don't get as much attention because they're a little bit more wonky issues, but they really do impact some of the topics that we've discussed here, which is the corporate capture of the legislative process, where large corporations make huge contributions to impact the direction of policy, even when it's not in favor of consumers. And so there's two bills I wanted to kind of uplift if we can. I know you read about
Yeah.
these bills too, but
Oh yeah. And I think uh to add a little flavor too to your piece, these are a couple of bills that have also really highlighted the fractures within the Republican, I'd say, base. And it goes back to sort of piece around this: the grift is grifting. And at a certain point, when it comes to the Republican base and party, this tension between the complete corporate capture and the pretending not to be completely corporate captured.
well, like
And like
the faux
the
populism,
faux
right?
populism, correct.
Yeah.
The faux populism, which blames, immigrants and black and brown people and women for the reasons why you have an economic crisis. But actually, no, it's the billionaire class that is like just profiteering, and the elected officials that are very much in collaboration with them, right? And so these bills are so interesting because they are completely examples of that corporate capture you're speaking to. But there are ones that have also awoken different parts of the Republican base in a way, and those fractures are really showing. In a space where you're trying to find something to hold on to, I find hope in our community and also hope in these little moments of fractures. I think it's at least interesting to watch. Like, it's at
Well,
least
yeah, we always joke that, when we see like Governor DeSantis, fighting with legislative leadership, it's just kind of like, okay, the girls were fighting, let's see what
that's right.
happens, but you do get the opportunity to hopefully get something done, as a member of the minority caucus in those moments, because it does create an avenue of unlikely allies at times. But to your point about the legislative process in general and the fractures, I would also argue that the issues we're going to talk about on today's pod also demonstrate how sometimes Democrats got to get their shit together too, right? Let's dive into these bills for that in that vein. So the first one I wanted to uplift is House Bill 1551. This is the Sig Sauer bill. And so if those don't know, Sig Sauer is a German-owned gun company, and they're very well established. Multiple, I mean, my God, I assume every law enforcement agency has contracts with Sig Sauer for their weapons. They haven't been in the news recently for not good reasons. In particular, Sig Sauer is facing more than 100 lawsuits filed in 22 states, including Florida, related specifically to their P320 firearm, which has been unintentionally shooting the user.
Yep. Right.
There
Yeah,
have been
I think it's called ghost
unfortunate,
firing, cases of ghost
yes,
firing.
there have been unfortunate deaths because of this, and of course, severe injuries to the point where a lot of law enforcement agencies have dropped the firearm completely. They're just not going to purchase this gun anymore. And what's worse is that uh, there's been more information about the fact that 6 Hour executives knew internally that this gun had a high risk of ghost firing, and yet they chose not to add safety features. And we've had, at this point, juries in Georgia and Pennsylvania that have awarded multi-million-dollar verdicts to those individuals that were impacted by the ghost firing. So you would think, okay, wow, this is like really bad. Like you have people getting shot by their own gun without even touching it. The legislature must be pursuing policies to prevent this from happening, right?
In fact, they have introduced a bill that would effectively immunize this company from any liability claims based on these cases of ghost firing. That is the solution the legislature has put forward.
I mean, if there was a bill that was a face palm, like this would be the bill, right? Like, so yeah, they're doing the complete opposite. So instead of protecting the consumer, they want to protect the gun manufacturer. And it's worth noting that uh, based on records compiled by the Substack Seeking Rents, that Sig Sauer has donated at least $390,000 to politicians in Tallahassee the eve of Florida's 2026 legislative session.
Talk about a grift of the week. And this committee hearing, I mean, it was so heartbreaking too, because you had so many folks, including the sheriff of Indian River County, come up and testify against this bill, and literally of law enforcement coming up and saying, like, this bill is bad. We use Sig Sauer, but this weapon has caused harm. Like literally going to legislature and saying, I cannot believe I even have to say this right now. I'm law enforcement. Aren't I in charge of this process? But the Sig Sauer lobbyist is testified,
man.
wrote the big checks, and
Let
the
me
bill
tell you,
passes.
let me tell you, I do not serve on this committee. I don't serve on civil justice anymore. I used to, but I watched this committee hearing, and if you watch this testimony, it's like so clear who the baddies are, right? Like it's so clear how you should vote on this bill. You have, like you said, law enforcement officials, a sheriff of Indian River County, who gave a very powerful testimony. He pointed to his deputy that got shot by his own gun when he took off his vest. And he said, I'm a criminal legal guy. I don't know civil, but what I do know is that my guy deserves a path of accountability. It's that simple, a day in court.
Yep.
And then I have all this testimony. I think there was only maybe 2 people who testified in support of the bill. One was like this, gun association, and this guy looked like he was reading a ransom note. Like he was reading verbatim a script of why this bill should be supported. I was like, bro, blink twice if you need help. And then, of course, the 6 Hour executive.
Help! I mean, that's a scary industry.
I guess that's true. But then the 6 Hour executive came up. Man, this guy, slicked back hair, manicured suit, like,
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Probably
This
had his
reminds me, this was
initials
my
embroidered on his shirt.
literally years ago. I remember one of my first committee hearings as an advocate, and and it was a bill that had something to do with the natural gas industry. And I remember walking in and seeing all the lobbyists for, all these major just fossil fuel companies. And I was like, oh my God, this is I feel like I'm living in a movie like that. Like the public lobbyists, the public interest lobbyists versus the private interest lobbyists, and the scrappy, environmental and human rights folks versus these like very well funded, very well dressed lobbyists. And you're just like here in Tallahassee, Florida. And the wild thing is like they rarely testify, as you know. A lot of times those entities, they do their work in between committees and before before a session when they write the big checks. And
Well,
so they
that's the
don't
next bill we'll talk about too.
That's right. That's right. Well, and so they don't
Yeah.
often testify, right? But it's in a process where hundreds of us will turn out to beg a committee, just like, don't take our rights away, right? These like fundamental things, and no one, they just don't bat an eye. The majority party generally, but on this one, it was so wild to see law enforcement come out and still lose on the vote in this way. And of course, it wasn't on a partisan line. There were some
Well,
interesting
that's
divisions on the vote in this
yeah,
one.
that's worth noting. The final vote count was not on partisan lines. It was 13-4, with 2 Democrats voting yes, and then 1 Republican actually voting no with the rest of the Democrats, which is a really like that vote count is rough. My
Yeah.
God,
Well,
that
speaking
it's
of rough
just
vote counts, I think the next bill is an important one too. So,
I know. So I mean,
but so
the next
that
and
was grift of the week number 1. We kind of forgot a grift last week, so I think we should do 2 this one. So that was grift of the week number
sure.
1.
But I do want folks to know that was the first committee stop. So if this fires you up, you should contact your state representative or your state senator about it. So please remember
Yeah.
that, we were planning to do a podcast every 2 weeks. We've ended up doing it once a week, but it kind of gives you some really great, just active live legislation. So again, that is House Bill 1551. And the Senate companion is Senate Bill 1748. And that's in his first committee Tuesday, the 10th. So if you remember Schoolhouse Rock, I'm a bill. The bill gets filed, it gets a number, it goes through committees, and then to the floor. That has to happen in both chambers before it gets to the governor's desk. A lot of folks don't know about the impacts of a bill until it's too late, until it's signed into law, and then you either hear about it on the news or you are directly impacted by it. And then you find out, wow, I wish I got involved to stop this, right? So the benefit of this podcast, to some degree, not only because you get to spend time with Ida and I, but it's also because we're giving you like live information that is just super, super impactful, and you can take action today on it. So moving along
Yeah.
to grift number 2, House Bill 433. Whoo, man. So if you follow my social media and see my stories, you might notice that I've been posting a lot from Captains for Clean Water, which is a fantastic organization that has been really challenging the sugar industry for a long time. And it's a nonpartisan organization. I mean, they are fishermen, they're folks who work in the water, who love the water, and have been really pushing back on basically corporations that operate under the model of environmental harm to benefit their bottom line. So this is also known as the Farm Bill. So I'm talking in the context of the state legislature Farm Bill because it's also the package for the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. What that means is that every state agency basically has a policy package. They have changes that they want to see in state law. So every agency will have a package that is specific to their priorities. That's why it's called the Farm Bill. Long story short, there's a lot in this bill, like a lot stuff. And the piece that is most concerned is getting the most attention is around what's known as food libel or veggie libel law, which basically makes it easier for the agricultural corporations to sue critics for defamation. For example, the Texas beef industry tried to use a food libel law to sue, of all people, Oprah Winfrey.
Oprah.
How dare they? After she aired a segment on mad cow diseases. And Oprah eventually won that lawsuit, and only after spending, of course, I mean, it was not a lot of money for her, but for spending $1 million in legal fees.
Well,
So
to your point, that
obviously,
wasn't a lot of money for her, but like for the
for her,
average person, even the threat of litigation is enough to silence you, right? That's the point. Because we know not the average person cannot go up against a massive global industry like sugar, for example.
you got it. You took the words out of my mouth. The food libel laws are generally limited to criticism of perishable food products like fresh fruits and veggies that spoil very quickly and are therefore uniquely vulnerable to, public scares, misinformation. But this dramatically expands Florida's food libel laws to include, it's crazy, to include non-perishable products like sugar and
Such as sugar.
and, and any agricultural practices like sugarcane burning. And I'll be very clear, I am one of the few lawmakers who has never taken a penny from the sugar industry. I've never raised money from really any agricultural actor. I've never raised money from utility companies. But the problem, right, is that sugar is very influential in the entire state of Florida and around the world, honestly, in its politics and its campaign giving and so forth. Um, and so this bill is moving. It is moving.
It is, and I think it's important to note, with back to the Grouch of the Week here, that Florida Crystals and U.S. Sugar gave about $1 million combined to Florida politicians in the 3 months before legislative session started, mostly to Republicans, but also to the Democratic Party. And so that when you follow the money, you sort of see who and the interest behind this bill. And to your point, sugar is often that main force. A lot of these farm bills that we see in Florida and around the country really do disproportionately help the big big agriculture versus helping to start up local mom and pop farms. And in Florida, a lot of those have suffered. Like, we don't have a robust local agriculture community compared to other states, but the ones that we do have, I think we should have policies to support and lift up local food sourcing and all the beautiful things that come with locally owned farms. But so much of this bill, to your point, is written for the benefit of some of the largest corporations, not just in Florida or in America, but in the world. These are global companies. And so this committee hearing was wild because it was a good, I want to say about two hours or so. And there were dozens of public folks in the public that came to testify. And I don't think one person spoke in support. There were some
No.
waves in support by the folks you'd imagine, Associate Industries of Florida and like the different, corporate associations. But it was just unanimous opposition and public testimony of very just folks like you named, the Captains of Clean Water. These different fishing guides came
Well,
out.
not just that, but also Maha. Like, let me
Yes,
add a
yes,
little bit to this. So remember,
yes.
it's this the way this bill is written is that it also basically protects pesticide companies too, and pesticide companies, including Monsanto, that's now Bayer. There have been reportings that they helped write the initial food libel laws and said in internal memos that their goal was to intimidate environmentalists and journalists. So we with that context provided, obviously the Maha folks, under the banner of Make America Healthy Again, they are very passionate about a lot of these issues, from food dyes and chemicals in food, et cetera, et cetera. So there's been this really interesting partnership between Maha and the environmentalists in opposition to this bill. And so back to our earlier point, like, this is the Republican base, right? That is opposition to this bill. And there were so many organizations that testified opposition, including like the Christian Coalition of Florida, which is like a super conservative organization. They're always testifying, in favor of the worst bills, like abortion bans and
Anti-LGBTQ, book
right,
bans. Like,
right.
we're never on the same side of a debate, I'd say, until
No,
this hearing.
and even the book banning group was against this bill too. It was wild. There were, anti-vaccine people.
It was kind of wild hearing these so many folks come up, and a big line I kept hearing was, I never thought I'd have to come up here and protect my First Amendment rights, but that's what I'm doing. And I was
Whoa.
like, hon, welcome. I'm so sorry you're here. But like, welcome to the fight, because like, this is what we've been dealing with for a long time.
I
And
know,
that's the
it's
thing
so
too,
true.
is like, they will always come for you. Like, people who think they're protected, like, unless you can write a real big check, you are not safe here.
No,
Like,
no.
you might not be first on the list, right? And everyone, this is like why solidarity is so important in combating like authoritarianism, right? Because like, they will come for you. You think that if I'm quiet or I'm on this side, like, I'm good, it'll come for you, honey. And like, and so this was like that moment of witnessing these people that had never had to do this, that are like crying for their basic rights. And I'm just like, I hate that you're here, but also like, welcome. And like, I feel you.
Well, and it got worse because I remember the chairman of the committee he made this comment about, it was really great to hear from people from both sides of the issue. And it's like, no, bro, you only heard from one side because that's the only side.
And yet
Like,
the bill unanimously passes.
everybody voted it up. I will tell you, there have been some Democratic colleagues that have spoken to me with regrets about voting for it. And obviously, knock on wood, the bill doesn't move forward, but knowing that it probably will, everybody has another chance to vote on it on the House floor. So you can, vote the way you want to vote and correct to vote if you need to. But yeah, it's rough. It's actually scheduled to come to State Affairs next, but it was not on the agenda this week, and I'm the ranking member in State Affairs. So I am preparing our caucus to be a lot stronger on this. What's interesting too is it seems like the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services are trying to amend the bill in an effort to appease the Maha community, but still give protections to agricultural and pesticide companies, which will continue to create the serious concerns for environmentalists. And so more to come.
Yeah.
And so it's important to uplift it because I do feel like, the other bill, not to throw more numbers at people, but is this terrorist bill. And I actually do want to uplift this quickly because I feel like it's related to the conversation that we're having when it comes to freedom of speech, when it comes to control of the state. And this is legislation that, again, some Democrats have voted yes on it, which is very, very concerning because when we are living in a time where our elected and appointed officials are comfortable making accusations of domestic terrorism without any evidence to support that claim, you do not want to empower the state to have tools to continue on that path. And this is House Bill 1471 that basically creates a chief of domestic security that can point fingers at nonprofit organizations to accuse them of being terrorist. And that label, once it's made, will stick. And even though the bill has a means of appealing that decision,
right, it was like they share it in the cabinet meeting or something like that. Like it's not even a way that a nonprofit organization would be able to even know or follow up in a meaningful way.
I mean, it fits under the same banner, right? That if the state doesn't like your speech, they will threaten you for it. Right? They're not going to debate your speech on merit. They're not going to acknowledge your criticism. Instead, they're going to use your own tax dollars to, in this case, label you as a terrorist. If you're a college student, you'll be expelled or even deported if you're a national student under the banner of your safety. I mean, it's just shocking, how far they're willing to go. And this bill is on agenda also on February 10th in its second committee stop on the Senate side. I'm sorry, the House side. I'm sure it'll move in the Senate too. But it comes with a public records exemption. So they want to hide the evidence they're going to use against you for why they're accusing you of being a terrorist organization. One of the most obvious examples of this is what's happening to CARE Florida right now, where the state's appointed Attorney General, James Uthmeyer, has accused CARE Florida, has labeled them as being a terrorist organization. So those don't know, CARE Florida is an organization that represents Arab and Muslim voices. They're a civil rights organization. They have been on the front lines on a lot of issues over the years against the Muslim ban, against discriminatory practices. This organization is willing to take controversial positions, right? That's what they're known for in some degree of being brave to make points in environments that are very, very polarizing. So now they're being labeled as a terrorist organization. They just hosted Muslim Day at the Capitol, where I actually sponsored them. Muslim Day at the Capitol is an annual tradition. It's literally students, like it's kids that come out to the Capitol to learn about the process, like any other group would do. And so this is last Monday, and I have back-to-back calls for my day jobs. A lot of folks don't know that I also have a day job because the salary of a state lawmaker is only $28,000. And so I do have a day job on top of everything that I do. And Mondays are like my day job calls because I usually don't have committee meetings Monday morning. But I get this tweet from the Attorney General demanding that the Capitol building be made more secure because, quote, there's terrorists around. And I'm just like, "Are you kidding me right now?" And I can't even really respond because I can't get distracted from my day job. I get to the rotunda for the press conference, and there is, like, more law enforcement than attendees, and I told him, I said, "We've hosted this event every year, there's never been a problem, I don't think there'll be a problem this year." And sure enough, the press conference is fine, but it was really funny because reporters were asking me, like, "What do you think is gonna happen to Ruscamani? Because we're using a state house microphone, and apparently that might be against the law now." And I jokingly was like, "Well, we'll just take it minute by minute. Maybe this is the day I get arrested." Which, unfortunately, I feel like in this political environment, I am likely to get arrested this year without even trying. I just feel like they're arresting anyone who challenges the state at this point. But either way, I was really proud of the young leaders, despite the intimidation, who still came to the Capitol as Muslim Americans to speak their mind, to advocate on bills that matter to them, despite everything happening to silence them. I want to give a shout out to Fire. Fire actually reached out to me. Fire is a center right First Amendment organization that reached out to me specifically about this bill and another bill that impacts net zero policies. And that's the type of like coalition building we need, is building relationships again from more conservative organizations to more liberal and more progressive, because we really have to be together in our fight against these policies, because they truly impact all of us. It is not an isolated environment. It's a dark time, but what gives me a lot of hope is those untraditional allies, those moments of resilience in the face of strife. And I'm just really grateful that folks still show up despite how hard it's getting.
I think you alluded this earlier on, but just the sense of the more personal we get in our stories, the more universal our dreams and our values are. So the sense of centering the individual human stories, we actually learn we have more in common than our differences when you like focus on really your differences, like who you are and why you exist, right? And so that opportunity to build our base while also building unlikely allyships is so essential. I think you model that when you are values aligned and like true to yourself and authentic in your leadership. Folks of all backgrounds like see that and support that, because that is the magic sauce of just being an authentic leader. Like, but this piece around defining anyone who is your opposition as a terrorist is so dangerous. Like, it is a very dangerous and classic tactic that the state of Florida is working to leverage. And so it's super important that it's elevated, because to your point, it is all of our rights on the line, and it's high stakes. It's really high stakes, and so really appreciate you holding down all those efforts. And I would prefer you not get arrested, Anna, as someone
It's not
who
my
cares
goal.
about you a lot. I
It's
know.
not my goal, but I am thinking about it. I have to. But yeah, it is. It's awful, because we actually do have like legitimate domestic terrorists to target, but that's not what this is about. It's not about going after the KKK. And so yeah, it's all about control. It's all about speech. I've actually had a lot of folks reach out to me about House Bill 1471, asking me if it's real, because they feel like it's not a real bill. And I mean, that's just how bad it's gotten, where you read this bill and you can't even believe that it exists, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
so
Yeah.
with that
Yep.
said, I know we got to wrap up, but I wanted to two quick plugs, if I may. One is just
You may. We'll
gratitude.
allow it.
One is just gratitude, because despite only like being in existence for, I don't know, like 4 weeks, we have over 1,000 streams.
Wild.
Like, that's so cool. So thank you to everyone that's been subscribing, listening, spreading the word to others. And I'm glad that folks find it helpful and useful. And so keep listening, keep sharing. The more you do that, the more it helps get our message to new audience members, helps to get more people politically engaged in a thoughtful way. And then, of course, Ask Ida. We haven't really plugged this as much as we should, but I do want to emphasize, we want to start a segment where Ida will give you life advice with all of her wisdom. And so I will make sure that link is available to you of what would Ida do. But if you're looking for some career advice, love advice, whatever.
Wow, yeah.
Ida has you covered.
Holla
This
at
is
your
very
girl.
sex. This is very Sex in the City right now with Carrie hosting the workshop that nobody came to.
Wow.
It
Okay,
worked
well, but
out.
I'll take
It
the
worked
girls
out.
out. Let's go out.
That's what I'm saying. It
I'll
worked
remain
out.
single, but find you all spouses.
No, it'll work out. It'll work out. But yeah, please submit any thoughts, and Ida will give you all of her wisdom and advice. Anything else I'm forgetting, Ida?
I think you covered it wonderfully, sister. Just I also want to echo gratitude for everyone for all the great feedback. Our roommate David loves the pod. He said it's a great way to catch up with us because he barely sees us.
LOL. That's
Shout
so
out to
funny.
David. When as you're listening, love you, hun. But yeah, I just echo the gratitude and safest travels to Tallahassee, and we will see y'all soon.
It's my best dream or everyone's worst nightmare.